Hey everybody, welcome back to Battle Ready Inc. So today's video, we're going to be aiming this for its new players that either haven't started the game at all or are about in their first month of playing the game. We're looking at jumping into the Digimon TCG right from the beginning and how to go about properly getting into the game without just dropping thousands of dollars on cards that you may or may not even want. So we're going to be looking at decks that you might want to be interested in and all the different ways that you can go about choosing a different deck, as well as what products should you worry about buying. Should you buy singles, sealed product, how much you should roughly spend just getting into the game. Also, our new memory marker that came out this month is Kokomon. So if you're playing a Cherubimon deck, this is a great, fantastic memory marker for that. This is handmade out of clay by my wife, hand painted as well for the face there. You can find this on our Etsy page, link in the description below. Also in that link, you can find all of our previous memory markers that we've featured on the channel, as well as some of our Battle Ready Inc. merch. Okay, so one of the first things I want to show you here is this website called digimoncard.dev. This is a fantastic fan-made resource, one of the best ones I've experienced thus far. They update it so fast. Every time a card gets revealed in a magazine in Japan, like literally by the end of the day or the second day, it's already up on the website, ready to go. And just for players to look at, read, they can print off proxies and play with those proxies and practice with them. Fantastic resource. Also has a deck builder, so you can come in here and build your decks, save your decks. If you're on your phone, out in the public and you got like a crazy idea, like you're on a break from work and you want to build a deck right quick, this is a great place to come in here, build it, save it, and then come back to it later, like when you get home, and look at it again. Fantastic resource. You can see every card in all these different sets, past sets, future sets. Great resource. One of the best resources out there, absolutely. So when it comes to picking a deck, right? So you're trying to get into the game. What should you start with, right? What cards should you buy? That sort of thing. First, you should look at, well, what's your goal in the game? One of the best ways I think to jump into this game is pick your favorite Digimon and then build a deck around that. Look up other cards in the Evo line, the whole, evolution chain to get up into that Digimon and all the Evo chains afterwards. And then you can kind of read their effects and then find other cards that also kind of supplement and do similar things that go with that same color that Digimon might be. And you can kind of build a deck around that. You can also just search for decks, Google search, go to YouTube and type in search and for whatever deck you're looking for, and typically you can start to get ideas that other more established players might have already come up with, and then you can take their ideas and then make them into your own and create your own unique flair. So I think that's a great way to just start. If you already know what Digimon is and the reason you're playing the game is because you like Digimon, build a deck with your favorite Digimon. I think that's a great way to start the game. Now, if you're maybe not necessarily just a hardcore Digimon fan or not really a Digimon fan at all, but you want to play this new card game, what I recommend is looking at all the different colors and then picking a play style that suits what you really want to do. So we'll go over quick examples of all the different colors, but red. What does red like to do primarily? So I'll use this old original BT1 Wargreymon, the first Wargreymon that came out in the game that wasn't in a starter deck. And his ability is the turn that you Digivolve into him, he gets security attack +1. And so a red does a whole lot of that. They'll get into this one big level 6 boss monster is what we like to call them, and they'll get a whole bunch of security attack plus X amount. And then when you attack, that's how many of your opponent's security that you break. Now, if you're not familiar with game mechanics, I definitely recommend looking up a video dedicated to how to play the game. Once you know how to play the game, then a lot of these terms will make a lot more sense to you. But until then, you know how to play the game, but you're just trying to figure out a deck to play. So red is all about just punching in, and you want to break all your opponent's security in one go, or as many as possible with a single attack. So red does a whole lot of that. That is a big part of their focus. So just big, beefy Digimon that punch really, really hard, all in one go. Now, as far as blue kind of does a few different things. Currently, in the BT7 format, it's all about blue hybrids. And what blue hybrids do is all about removing your opponent's Digivolution sources. So all those Digimon underneath whatever Digimon's on field, so all the inheritables, it gets rid of all of those. So that way, it's just the top card left on the field. And once that happens, then they get all these bonus effects that trigger off that. Either you can prevent that Digimon from attacking or blocking, or it gives your opponent or gives your own cards more buffs because your opponent controls a Digimon with no sources. So if you like that kind of aspect of being able to remove all your opponent's sources and then get lots of buffs because of that, whether you're just stunning your opponent and preventing them from attacking repeatedly, maybe blue's a good way to go for that. Also, blue has great cards that allow them to search for their Digimon, so you can reveal the top cards of the deck and then add a card from that to your hand directly. So that's, they're really good about searching as well as gaining free memory through a couple of their different cards, and then stunning and controlling the opponent's board. So if you like a little bit of control, blue is a great way to start with that. Now, another control strategy is green. Green is all about piercing. It's probably the faction that has the most piercing in the entire game. So what a lot of their cards do is they suspend your opponent's Digimon, which, if you're not familiar, it's like tapping or turning them sideways, right? They're rested, and once they're rested in that sideways state, then you can choose to attack into them. If they're not rested, you can't attack into them. But if they are, you can attack over them. So green has lots of cards that will suspend your opponent's Digimon if they're not already suspended, and then when you attack over them, they have an ability called Pierce, and that allows you to also check a security. So you get a deleted opponent's Digimon and check a security at the same time in one attack, similar to Trample if you're a former Magic player. So that's how they do a bit of control for green. Another one is yellow. Yellow is sort of a control deck, but predominantly it's all about healing. So you continuously put cards from your deck into your security, just repeatedly getting your security much higher than any other security that any of the other colors can manage. That's all about yellow, is just healing, kind of like in a lot of other games with white or whatnot. It's all about healing and getting your own health up as much as possible. It's getting your security really high. Now, how that kind of incorporates into control is yellow tends to play a lot more cards that do special things when they get hit in security. So whether that be option cards that activate automatically so that you don't have to spend their memory cost, you just get to play them for free. Very powerful stuff like that. So those cards get hit, they get played for free, activate some sort of effect. A lot of effects that are really popular right now is deleting the opponent's Digimon. So you can, this one card that gets hit for free in your security then deletes your opponent's whole board. So that's how yellow does their control. It's all about healing and then controlling your opponent's board and then just chipping away at their security very slowly. Now, black is an interesting one. Originally, black was all about having blockers. It was the predominant color for just fending off your opponent. I've just got all these blockers, and so you can never attack me because I'll just stop you. But now the game is kind of steered away from blockers. Blockers have really started to fall off in the game. Even Bandai has started to steer away from making cards with blocker. They come up here and there, but compared to original sets where almost every black card had blocker, now it's more about doing other things. So black is almost like a mini red, and it has ways to get some security attack plus on some of their boss monsters. They have other things that allow you to delete your opponent's Digimon off the field for free, so a bit of control like other colors have. But now they're a big mechanic that black has really started to put their hands on and kind of claim as their own is de-digivolve. So that means when you trigger these effects, it takes the top card of your opponent's Digimon and then sends it to the trash. So it devolves. So it takes that level 6 and then makes it back into the level 5 that it was before. And that level 6 card goes to the trash. So it's all about de-digivolving and just making all your opponent's Digimon weaker and weaker and weaker by repeatedly using these effects that constantly de-digivolve. So that's what black has really started to take a big hit on, is a lot of these de-digivolve mechanics. In the future, they'll also they have a predominance in placing Digimon from your hand underneath already established Digimon, so giving them more inheritables underneath. That's a pretty popular strategy that we're going into over the next few sets for Black. But primarily, though, that's just one archetype. But in general, a lot of the Digivolving is pretty across the spectrum for Black. Very interesting. Black has really come into this more well-rounded color than what it used to be. Black used to be the butt end of most jokes because it was so bad, but now Black has really started to take off and become a very popular color again. Because it's kind of steered away from that blocker mechanic and started going into other things. Why blocker is not very good anymore is because there's ways to dodge it between the piercing of green, blue being able to prevent the opponent from even choosing to block in the first place, things like that, or other decks just flat out deleting them. Blockers just became more and more of a way of the past of playing. They don't actually do anything, so they don't really stop the opponent as well as like other things, like just preventing them from attacking in the first place. And then the last primary color is going to be purple. Purple is all about manipulating the trash. So all your discards and things like that, they have tons of different ways that send either cards from the top of the deck to the trash or from your hand to trash. And in the process, usually you get to draw a bunch of cards. So you go through your deck exceptionally fast when playing as purple. So purple ratios can tend to be a little bit more skewed than compared to other colors, simply because their draw is so much heavier than any other color. They also run the risk of decking out more often than most other colors do because of all that, it just crazy amounts of putting cards in the trash. And then once those cards in trash, then you start getting other benefits. Between however many cards there are in trash, you get benefits for that, or you can take cards from your trash and then put them into play for free, put them into your hand. You can evolve some of these for free from your trash. Very powerful things like that. So very much trash focused deck is for purple, so drawing as well as trash manipulation. Now there is also white. White is more of a generic color, though it's not its own. You can't really build a white deck. Eosmon sort of is a possible contender, but that's a very niche archetype. But in general, white is just restricted for a generic color. That could be multiple colors. It can work in multiple different decks, that sort of thing. Typically they don't provide boost for your deck. So if you have a card that says, well, one of your red Digimon gets, plus 1,000 attack or DP, if it's a white card on field, you're not going to get that benefit, but it's usually reserved for very powerful cards that get the white treatment. So when they get that white color, they're typically very, very powerful and are incorporated in the deck mechanically, but you can't use them on their own, like as they are. I hope that makes sense for you. So that is another way to pick your deck. So go from those colors, and whichever strategy sounds good to you, look into searching for a deck that's based on that color. That's a great second alternative. So pick a Digimon and build a deck, or pick a color with a strategy that you like and build a deck based off that. And then the last one is for the players that just are really competitive. They really just want to win. You can look up what the best deck of the format is. We'll look up tournament results and see what decks are doing exceedingly well. And then if that's what you really want to focus on, you just want a deck that's going to really do well, you can go that route and just look up decks that are already successful and then take those ideas and then make them into your own, change them up or play them as they are, whatever the case may be. Now, what should you buy? Now, this is very dependent on your budget. For me personally, what I like to do is I tend to buy about 2 boxes of every set. And what that gets me is I get 4 copies of every common, uncommon, and almost every rare, depending on the set. Sometimes rares can be a little bit shorted because of promo cards, things like that. But typically I get 4 cards of every card in the set of rare and below, and then I usually get a good amount of super rares. So what's really nice about Digimon also is that their super rare count is about 10 cards roughly per set that are super rare, and then when you buy a box, you get 7 different super rares. So you get almost a copy of every single card, every single super rare in the set. Almost, not quite, but it's close. As well as you get an alternate art and a secret rare. Now, sometimes you could get 2 alter arts, or sometimes you could get 2 secret rares. It's just a combination of those per box. Every once in a while, you will get shorted, and you will only get 1 of those. It's very rare, but it does happen, and it is a bummer. But 2 boxes gets you a pretty solid set of cards, and then what you can do after that is buy singles. So whatever you're missing that you're really interested in playing, particularly in the super rare department or secret rare department, you can just buy those individually, and typically they'll equal out to be a lot less money than if you were to repeatedly buy boxes and boxes and boxes trying to complete this set. So I definitely recommend once you get your a nice collection and you're just missing 1 or 2 of a couple different cards, just to buy those individually. There's resources like eBay or TCG Player, whatever. Even Facebook is multiple different places to buy singles. Definitely recommend going that route. Now, if you're extremely short on budget and buying boxes is like, I've got enough money to buy a single box. Do I buy a single box and that's it, and I have to try to build a deck out of that? Or probably the better alternative is just to buy the singles. So you might wait about 2 weeks after a set. The prices, after a set releases, the prices will dip very, very low very quickly. And then you can just go buy all the pieces that you're wanting. So continue playing the same deck you've been playing for most of the format, and then wait 2 weeks after a set release, and then just go buy a couple singles or a bunch of singles. And typically you can build a highly competitive deck for less than $40. I mean, less than half of what you paid for a box. That's pretty good. Right now in the format, blue hybrid is super popular, and literally you can build that entire deck minus the Susanomons and minus the Davis Tamer, which is getting a reprint in several months, but reprints happen every so often. It's very rare, but that's a very much needed one. But you can buy that whole deck minus about 5 cards for less than $20. Like the best decks in the entire game for less than $20 for the base, and then just a couple $10-15 cards here and there. You don't have to play the Susanomons in that deck at all. Most decks don't, in fact, in the blue one. So yeah, you just need about 3 Davises, and at about $15 a copy. A little expensive, but if that's the only 3 cards in the entire deck worth more than $2, then that's a steal. So you can literally build some of the most competitive decks in this game just buying singles, and then you just have that one deck, and you just play that one deck, until you can slowly accumulate more and more cards over time. Just again, this is a starting point of what to start with for your very first deck. Now, you can buy already assembled decks from players. Some players will get really angry with the deck sometimes, and they'll just turn around and be like, hey, I'll sell you this entire deck for $50. And you're like, okay, sure. Some players, you can just ask them, hey, it's like, hey, I'm jumping into the game. I don't have money to buy sealed product. Do you have like an extra deck I could either borrow or just pay you for directly? And sometimes, yeah, they're like, well, I've got this deck I haven't played. I'll probably never play it at this point. Sure, it gets rid of it for me, so I don't have to keep up with it anymore. I'll sell it to you for $30. Here you go, take it. That just doesn't hurt to ask, that sort of situation. Now, how much should you buy if your money's not a question? Every single set, I know people that will drop money on a case. And what I mean by a case, I think a case is 12 boxes. It's 10 boxes or 12 boxes of product. And then they open that all up, and they get more than what they need. Absolutely way more than they need. And then what you can do is turn around and sell all your excess. So anything beyond 4 copies, then you can just sell it either TCG Player, eBay, other people in Facebook groups, people at your card shop, whatever they're missing, they might want to pick up off you. And typically you can make a decent bit of your money back. Some stores, like, that's literally how they make their money, is they'll buy a case and then they'll turn around and sell every single card individually out of that case, and they'll actually make more money than what they spent on the case. Now, that's like a whole other thing, not really about being a player, though. That's just about making money, and that's what card shops are that's what their kind of purpose is, right? So that's just another way to go about it. I don't really recommend that. Most card shops that do that are buying it at the rates that they get it from the distributor, and they're not paying for it by the rates that they sell it a box for at their shop. So keep that in mind when trying to do that. If you're trying to make money off of buying a case, you need to get it at distributor prices and not at local card shop prices, because that's a several $100s worth of difference. So I hope that was helpful in some way or form or fashion, helped you understand about where to start and where to pick up and where to go from there. If you have any questions, definitely feel free to put it in the comments section below. I'm always happy to reply to all my commenters whenever I possibly can.